The first presenter for the second session is Ms. Risa Nishihara. Ms. Nishihara's presentation is entitled The Power of Choice.
Is anyone wearing Nike shoes or clothes today? How many Nike products do you have at home? Well, I have many Nike goods: shoes, tennis apparel, socks, and bags. Nike is one of the famous and popular sports brands in the world. But this company has a giant problem that must be solved immediately. Can you guess what the problem is? Have you ever thought about who makes these products? Among the people who make the products are children who are younger than me. Yes, the problem is hazardous child labor. And sadly, Nike is not the only company in the world that recruits and exploits children. Today, I'm going to talk about the issue of child labor and related problem. I'll begin my presentation with a brief explanation of child labor, showing what's happening to children in a developing world. Secondly, I'll talk about my experience, which made me realize the harshness of the situation. Following that, I would like to suggest what we can do in order to improve the child labor situation as individuals and as members of society. Child labor is a work situation that harms children or keeps them from going to school. Lots of children in child labor are under the age of 15. According to the International Labour Organization in 2010, more than 168 million children were doing extremely hazardous work in harmful conditions. In other words, 1 out of 9 children was the victim of child labor. The Child Labor Public Education Project summarizes the 5 characteristics of child labor. 1. It violates a nation's minimum age laws. 2. It threatens children's physical, mental, or emotional well-being. 3. It involves intolerable abuse, such as child slavery, child trafficking, debt bondage, forced labor, or illicit activities. 4. It prevents children from going to school. 5. It uses children to undermine labor standards. Is this problem localized or widespread? Please take a look at this graph. This graph shows the areas where you find children in child labor. The purple part is Asia and the Pacific. There are about 114 million children working in these areas. 65 million in sub-Saharan Africa, 14 million in Latin America. Why are the children forced to work? There may be various reasons, but the main and probably important reason is poverty. These children come from poor families. They have no choice but to work. I actually experienced what their lives were like. This experience opened my eyes. Now, let me talk about my experience. In May this year, I visited Logos Hope which is a Christian charitable organization. They visit many countries around the world by ship. One of their missions is to inform people about what is happening in the world. They offer a workshop called Poverty Experience. I joined a workshop and experienced what living in poverty was like. The setting was slum in India. Each participant played the role of a member in a poor family. The goal of a poverty experience program was to send one child in a family to school. At first, I thought it was easy. However, as the program went on, I learned that it was simply impossible. The job assignment was making bags. No matter how hard we worked, our earnings were taken away for some unreasonable excuses. The owners of the companies wanted cheap labor to lower the product cost. Toward the end of the program, we no longer paid attention to our children's education. Instead, we encouraged our children to work in more dangerous situations. In this program, I felt that we were not treated as humans. There were no human rights. This experience was so shocking that I felt a strong pain in my heart. Because of this experience, I can empathize how hard it is to be in that situation. Even though they want their children to attend school, such unfair circumstances don't allow them to do so. They cannot get out of the negative spiral by themselves. This experience also taught me that we can and should stand up and act for making their labor situation better. There are several things that we can do. The first and the most important step is to learn about what problems poor children face. When Ms. Malala Yousafzai and Mr. Kailash Satyarthi received the Nobel Peace Prize, we learned about the problems threatening many children in the world. They have sacrificed their lives to fight for social justice. We shouldn't waste their will. As a student like me, what can we do to contribute to a better world? Have you ever seen this mark? Do you know what this mark represents? It represents the product that fair trade. In some societies, workers, including children, are given very low payment in order to make the product as cheap as possible. Fair trade is a system of exchange that honors workers, producers, and the environment. Why don't we buy the product labeled as fair trade? This really helps children working in a hazardous situation. Now, on what kinds of products can we see this fair trade mark? There are many products such as coffee, tea, cacao products, sports balls, and cut flowers. Where can we buy them? There are about 280 shops offering fair trade products in Japan. What about Nagasaki? In Nagasaki, there are 4 shops. The prices might be a little higher than they are for the same products in discount stores. However, I would like to suggest that we can help poor children. If we change our preferences, we can. Do not seek for products at a cheap price, but seek for products for which we can pay a little extra money to help our friends in the world. Which one would you like to buy? Ordinary coffee or fair trade coffee? It's your choice, but remember, your choice can change the world. The power is in your hands. Thank you for your attention.